There we go. I am resident of Colorwood for YouTube. Jules Sains. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to talk. We're here to talk about Judah Zachary. The
Hi, Judah Zachary.
Yes.
I've never met him, Your Honor.
His first appearance was episode 1063. His last appearance was 111.97. Episode count 67. Portrayed by Michael McGuire, James Storm, King Curtis.
King Curtis, yeah.
King Curtis and Norman Parker. So 4 different actors have portrayed Judah Zachary. Who did you, out of the 4 actors, Patrick, who did you enjoy the most, do you think?
Well, I mean, I know 2 of them are. I know that King Curtis, I think, provided the voice during the trial. So, but then Michael McGuire is that hilarious head.
Yeah.
So I think you can't take the head out of King Curtis, but you can take King Curtis out of the head. I don't know. I like them both. I like all 4.
Yeah,
they do different things.
Yeah, I think they all provide a key importance to the character.
Yes,
for sure. The voice of Judah Zachary, because it sounds like the voice of God almost.
It does.
And yeah, I mean that trial is with that voice. It's just so creepy. And
it is. Oh yeah.
And I mean, Laura Parker sells that beautifully. Her eyes are just.
She does not provide the voice. That's not her voice as Judah Zachary.
Well, no, but her look, her eyes when she's like scared.
You're saying that they used her eyes for Judah Zachary?
No, when she's the witness who testifies, her character is the witness.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah, she testifies against Judah Zachary. And once he puts that curse on her, she's terrified of him, and you could sort of see, the terror like prior to her testifying when she's talking to Amadeus Collins, and he's trying to convince her to testify, you're a child of God and all that stuff. And when she does, you could see the fear in her eyes. I think she does a good job of selling Judah Zachary as this evil entity.
How would Amadeus or how would Brutus Collins have done if put up against Judah Zachary? Brutus for men. Yeah, how would?
I sort of want. I think in a parallel time, I think they would have been in the same circle.
Okay.
Brutus, because we know that Brutus in 1841 parallel time was into the occult heavily. Yeah. And he had some knowledge of black magic.
Sure.
Now I don't think he's like a copy or a clone of Judah Zachary. I think he's his own character. But I do think that those characters would have meshed very well together if they had been in the same time.
Do you think they would have had brunch?
They would have definitely had a meeting of the minds. I'll say that.
Okay.
Like they would have had a conversation. Now, I don't know who would have been. I think though too, like when you think of all the villains and heroes of Dark Shadows, I think something would have came to a head between the two because somebody would have had to be the leader and somebody would have had to be the follower.
Speaking of coming to a head, didn't Judah Zachary have a body that they stuck his head on for a while, but he wore the mask? I'm always lost when I think of that.
Yeah, there was a mask that he used for the ceremonies.
Yeah.
That he conducted with his followers.
But didn't they stick his head on a body at one point?
Yeah, they stuck his head on his own body. They tried to put his head on his own body. Dr. Julie Hoffman, who had gone back in time to 1840, but the experiment did not work. It had been interesting to see Michael, because we saw Michael McGuire's head, but it had been interesting to see Michael, and we saw his body when they did the flashback. Sure. But it had been interesting to see Michael McGuire again as the character in that time. But I think
why didn't they keep that body around?
Well, it got buried beneath. It got buried beneath all that rubble because remember the grave that it was in had collapsed. They built that
Oh
laboratory
yeah.
in that that secret crypt, and it had collapsed. Um, it was Dr. Julie
What if
Hoffman.
Joey had accidentally sewn the head on backwards? What would that have been like?
That wouldn't have been good, man. That wouldn't have been good at all. But let me ask you this: what did you think of Michael McGuire as the body and head of Judah Zachary initially?
He's terrific. He's one
Yeah,
of my favorite bodies and heads I've seen. He's got this wonderfully intense kind of quality.
yeah,
I like him. I think Michael Maitland would have been funnier,
yeah.
but yeah. Now,
Now
what if they had gotten young David J to provide the voice of Judah Zachary?
that'd have been interesting.
He was the youngest of the Leviathans with the thick accent.
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been weird.
I think would have been really interesting. If they would have got because again he's already playing Barnabas. If they got Jonathan Frid to voice Judah Zachary, what?
Yeah, that would have been.
That would have been interesting.
So, is he the great Bond villain of the Dark Shadows franchise?
I think he's the best villain of the Dark Shadows franchise.
Is it because he does the most destruction?
Not just that, but he's playing for keeps. He doesn't. They don't pull back on him. They don't make him a good guy. They don't turn him from a heel to a baby face. They keep. I like heels that go all the way.
He's pure.
That's what I mean. That's my preference. What's yours?
I think both. I think they both have room in Dark Shadows. I think Dark Shadows is kind of unique in that it does, provide these characters who do have heel turns, and I like that. But it doesn't have to be all of their villains.
Right. I don't mind like a heel becoming a baby face as long as there's logic behind it. And I do think when you get into a heel and a baby face, there's always like for example, like Barnabas. When Barnabas came out of the coffin, and I knew he was a vampire. I mean, I never I know he kidnaps Maggie, but I never viewed him as a heel at that point.
He's like a cult deprogrammer. That's how you have to think of him.
Yeah.
This kid's been kidnapped. She thinks she's in the 20th century. He's going to straighten it all out.
Right. Whereas, Judah Zachary and give James Storm the double his due. I mean, this all starts in the 1995 arc.
It does.
The 9 episodes of Terror. I think he puts the fear of Judah Zachary into the audience.
He put it into me.
Yeah,
but the only thing, now that sounded wrong. He put the fear into me. There's no other it that I'm just saying.
I mean, those eyes and the fact that they didn't have the character like talk really too much. They have him mouth something to Julia, and I think it's his name that he's Gerard Stiles. Sort of a
I thought he mouthed Burma shave. I thought that's what he said. Now, Jewel, I don't know what body grooming you're doing, but you need to stop. That's too loud.
Yeah, give me 1 minute. Sorry.
That's okay. His body grooming regimen is very strict, and he'll be done in a moment. That's the big razor. I'm making a joke. Anyway, yes, we're back.
Yeah. Sorry about that. That was my dryer.
So that's what you're calling it now.
Something like that. But yeah, I think the 1995 arc is one of the most important arcs to building up a heel in Judah Zachary, and because it really, when they go back into that's the thing. When they go back into 1840, when Barnabas and Julia go back, they aren't saying they're looking for Judah Zachary. They're trying to figure out Gerard Stiles, and I think that's such a great. not just from the writer's point of view, but from a storytelling point of view, it's such a great curveball to have in your pocket.
Yes. Well, if you have a curveball in your pocket, you need to see a doctor immediately because something's gone horribly wrong. You sat the wrong way for too long or something. Really, Joel, please see someone about it. I'm sorry. I can't even imagine what that looks like, but it can't be pretty.
So to have a curveball in your arsenal, and Diaz had many.
Oh my God, you put it all the way back in your arsenal, Joel? my lord.
Oh my God.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't. Sounds like you just got it out.
No, I do think it's interesting that they have that sort of storytelling, because they have what's her name? I'm trying to think. The lady who Barnabas was in love with.
Cora from the Maxwell House ads.
No, the one who became
Roxanne Drew.
Yeah, Roxanne Drew.
Yeah.
Roxanne being a vampire, and there seemed to be some sort of connection between Roxanne and Judah Zachary that we never quite get in 1840. Then Barnabas, ends up turning her into a vampire, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
I always wondered, if there was if the writers had thought about just having Roxanne Drew be the member that was turned into a vampire in front of Angelique initially, and that's what freaked Angelique out, that he did that.
Oh boy, you would really go way back with that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Instead of having Roxanne Drew be this, the sister to another woman and have a brother, make her this, this person who was in the cult like Angelique was, that character was, and that's have that character be turned. I know they don't do that, but that would have been interesting if they would have.
Yes.
I think from a heel standpoint, he is the best. I love, again, Patofe I love because he is a heel, but he's so charming as a heel too.
Yes.
And again, I'm not faulting Sarah David for that. He's a great actor. But, you really look at Patofe like, man, Patofe, to me, I go, it's 1 and 1A. Like, I go, to me, Judah Zachary and Count Patofe are, to me, the best heels.
Yeah, I mean, now, does it take missing some body parts to be a great villain on Dark Shadows? Patofe's missing the hand. Judah Zachary's missing everything.
No, I think what makes a great heel is usually it's the build up to a heel, but I'd say where the exception meets the road to a degree would be Angelique, the build up to because there's no build up to Angelique.
No, and and I made a big mistake in Daybook Unbound where I wrote about how we'd been hearing about her, and it feels like we've been hearing about her. She just seems so inevitable as part of the show.
In a way, she does. Like you almost, when you look at the character, you can't picture Dark Shadows without her.
No.
Even like when you're going back to the beginning, because they say about how Joan Bennett, Carolyn says about how Joan Bennett's character, the kids would call Elizabeth a witch. And it's like that's really strange, like, why would you say that? So it's like, is there some sort of I always wondered, like when I was first watching DS, was there some sort of witchcraft going on? And then lo and behold, they don't build up Angelique, to like, there's one scene in the mausoleum where you hear a wicked woman laughing, but they don't say who it is. And then you're introduced to this beautiful blonde woman who has these powers. I think that's the great again, I know she was 28 years old. I know she had acting experience, but to put that on her shoulders couldn't have been easy. You know what I mean?
No.
And
no, it was a hell of a TV debut, really.
Right. And then the writer, Sam Hall, who wrote that episode, does a hell of a job. He wrote the dialogue, but Laura Parker gets it over. She gets every bit of it. in that episode, I mean, you're sort of like, okay, you realize there's some stakes now here with this character. She's here to stay. In that like not just in that episode, but in that arc, you're realizing that after that. And
well,
I think,
yeah.
Sorry,
go on. No, you.
And I think that's the same thing for, like, for example, when you think about the reveal, Patofe is mentioned. Like, there's a build up to him. There's the build up to Judah Zachary doesn't really happen until after the head appears.
Yeah, it's like, what's up with the head? And
right.
Then we learn.
So Dark Shadows has always done the writers and actors have done a really good job of playing their cards close to their vest. And
yes,
not building characters and then taking a character and literally molding them from scratch is one of the most, that's what I mean, it's one of the most well-written shows that way.
They knew what they were doing. I mean, they could do planning really well, but then they could also play it impromptu.
Yeah. And it shows with like characters like Angelique, and having the right actress play her, Laura Barker. Then you get Judah Zachary.
Yes.
There's no I don't want to say there's no build to him, but in a sense, you don't know it's Judah. You don't know they're looking for Judah Zachary until this head arrives, and it's like, oh, that's the head of Judah Zachary,
That's
and then
right.
you get this backstory, and it's like, oh shit, this is what they're looking for without them realizing it.
It's the animated severed head that we always wanted, but never knew we wanted.
Right, right. Whereas when you look at Patoke, there's a lot of build up to count. Patoke.
They talk about them all the time.
Yeah, the severed. They say about the hand of Patoke, hand Count Patoke. They get the hand. Well, Magda steals it, and there's going to be some consequences for her for that.
If you do it right, you get Count Patofe one body part at a time.
Right.
Joel, I hate to cut this short. I truly do. I have something that I need to take care of, however.
Okay.
And I must beg off a bit early.
Okay.
And for that, I apologize.
No worries, man. Sorry if I talk too much.
No, not at all. No, I'm loving every word. There's just there's something I need to attend to at home.
Okay. See you, Patrick.
Well, thank you. Bye.
Bye.